the magicians. And these positions set on the ground is to map out events that take place according to a particular stellar alignment. So when you see the Giza complex and you see that the 3 pyramids line up perfect with the Orion belt, you know, that's telling you that there's a fixed position there and that this had to answer for something. Now it can answer for events like when was it built? Well, if we line it up to when it was built, run the procession in the reverse order, you get back to when it lined up again. It's like rolling the clock backwards, so you get back to 3 o'clock, you know where it was set. So it worked the same way with the stars if you want to know when they were set. So they said that's one of the reasons why the stellar event would tie to the monument or the event on the earth. Another thing is that in the future, so then you can take the precession wheel and you can move it forward. As you move it forward, you'll see that again they will line up, and you can do it several times, and then you can know the distance of time that it takes for it to line up from this point to this point in past, present, and future dynamic. And so now you're looking at reading future events and past events. But the thing about reading the past in order to determine the future, there's a mirror effect, because you'll see it again repeated in the future, but there would be a like a reverse order to it almost, where from the mirror effect, when you're looking in the past, what's on the left will actually be your right, and what's on your right will actually be your left. It's like being on stage. And this is where Shakespeare get that the whole world is a stage and we are just actors. Because when you look back, you looking back from the stage, but when you look forward, you're looking at the stage. So you are like a band member stuck in the middle. You can see the audience and you can see the actors. Or you can become the director, and then you get to sit over the whole play and you can see everything for what it is. Now, when you line these events up, you will also line places up to the ground. Like in my video I did reading signs in real time, I showed how you could follow map the stars up. It shows you, and then I show you the picture that's in Manly PR's Secret Teachers of All Ages, and how the picture relates to where I was in the whole process. And then I walked you down and all the way to within blocks of my house to an address. The whole thing about that was it was partial misdirection in reading those signs, because I was trying to identify a trap, and by pointing in one direction, the search for the Queen of Heaven and Earth, it allows me the opportunity to uncover the trap before the bear can sink his teeth in, so to speak. So when you uncover the trap, you know what's what, then you get to see things for what they really are. So from reading the signs on the ground and matching them to the stars, it allows you to have a good understanding of the time frame that you're dealing with. It gives you opportunity to track from your zodiac sign where you at on the ground in real time with the stars in the sky. You can almost pinpoint your physical location by reading the stars in the sky. So you could take a person's birth date and time of birth, reading the stars in the sky, you can know exactly where they at. And some of the so-called psychics use this method on a subconscious level, and they find cadavers and unravel events that took place in the crime. It's the same method, but the subconscious mind and the psychic can do it without the need for reading the stars physically, like looking them up checking their position, the subconscious mind, and did it over so many lifetimes, it'll just automatically do it and zone them in. So you'll use like remote viewing techniques. U.S. military developed remote viewing to learn how to harness and tap into psychic powers for the purposes of espionage. Basically, they was using psychics to spy on people overseas. So, and they still got the program running under different names, and they made parody movies on it. Remember, they got to tell you the truth in plain sight, give you the opportunity to discover it, but they can put any slant on it they want to in order for you to not take it seriously. In the movie about the development of the control remote viewing or psychic spies was that movie Staring at Goats, I think was the name of it. I think that was the name of the movie. Men Who Stare at Goats, I think it was, something like that. Anyway, you can actually literally see something going on the other side of the world if you develop the technique. We all got the ability, and that was one of the things that we was cut off from in the so-called fall, was our ability to use those psychic skills. And then they didn't want you to develop them, so all of the tools, what they call divination tools, which is the training wheels for developing your psychic skills and talents, they told you all that stuff was evil, so you would never tap into a deeper portion of yourself. So they using it, all of their rites that they be performing right in your face in the church with the mass, when they be sprinkling the water and all, they use the same magic, the same stuff, the psychic tools to focus psychic energy that they told you was evil. They use it right in your face. You know, they use altar implements to concentrate your energy. So you think they're using the statues for being idols on the altar to worship? No, that's to focus your attention. That's the same as the hypnotist using the pendulum to have you a point of focus while he put you in trance. They just put statues and stuff on the altars for you to look at, you know. And when you understand what each one of them is for, what energy is it supposed to draw to the surface and how it's supposed to be used, then you understand how they manipulate you using the same stuff they told you was evil. Yeah, it's evil if you know how to fight back. I mean that you can put up a resistance to the psychic attacks. You can fight back. You can you know, undermine a wickedry. Like when I was talking about on the video, the blood and the rights, how the rich stay rich and the poor don't know. It's the blood rights. It's the adrenochrome sacrificing of the babies and the torture that keep the vibration in the atmosphere low so they can continuously keep you sedated with that adrenaline in the air and the misery in the air, all those low vibration energies. That's why they do what they call pain rights and blood rights, is to tap that energy, use that energy to create a sedative in the spirit realm. It's like a sedative. It makes the gods go to sleep because they can't tolerate the adrenaline and the smell of the blood in the air, in the atmosphere. On an energetic level, the vibration it creates becomes intolerable. So it puts you into a trance-like state until it becomes so intolerable they wake up in a rage in mass and just start tearing shit up. So they had to control it. So you look in the Vatican, they got this big cup. That's not in the Vatican, it's one of the cathedrals. They got a big cup. And they know they won't wake the guys up as long as the amount of blood on earth spilled don't make that cup run over. They measure it. They measure the energy from the blood spill on earth. And then every now and then, they got to do a major event because the blood started getting the blood spills start getting so low, they start losing their grip. So they'll do a 9/11 and kill off a massive amount of people at one time. So the world would be in a state of mourning and apathy, you know, and then they could be in a state of fear. So now they can sap all that excess energy out and focus it in and continuously steal your life force. As soon as you figure out how it works, and then you can start defending yourself, now you a problem to them. You know, you got to put you in a box surrounded by concrete and steel, because if they put you in there, they can kind of like ground the energy out from affecting the outside world. So now you know why they make prisons. Prisons is a very modern invention. You didn't always need prisons. You didn't always need prisons. Half the stuff that's crimes now ain't no crime. All law is commercial. Y'all got to remember that. All of the law is commercial. That means that the law is for sale. Yeah, Juanita. Mothers have a psychic connection to their children if they've not taught to ignore it. And especially if they breastfeed, because the oxytocin response in breastfeeding bind the mother closer to the child. She can literally sit there and meditate and see out of her child's eyes exactly what they're doing from the view that the child's seeing. She can do that because of the connection through the mitochondrial DNA. And this is what they call the all-seeing eye. And the matriarchs had the power to see everybody in the clan. So they created hives. Hives, all of them got together, you know, and performed rituals together. Those rites were stolen, but they had to be preserved because they knew that the system had to be restored. So they have men performing matriarchal rites in religions, and religion is called a feminine religion. I ain't gonna say the name of it because people are gonna hurt themselves trying to do the rites wrong. But anyway, the men had to preserve the ritual so that the women can reclaim their earth right at the close of the age. So now we just got to give the women back their rituals and watch how these evil mugs, they can't stay here. The vibration won't allow them to stay here. They already know. See, the time in which the quarantine Earth zone was quarantined from the rest of the universe because of the war that broke out in heaven spilling on Earth, they didn't want it affecting other places because it was bad. Maybe one of the worst in intergalactic recorded history, because when you try to remove somebody that's at the highest seat of power, you draw the attention of the entire galactic council, because if they tolerate you overthrowing the throne, what's to stop you from taking over all the thrones? So they had to come together, and then they had to make decisions that affect a lot of souls. So they had to quarantine the Earth zone and put the gods to sleep and make them live like mortals until order could be restored. And see, they waited for the sun to go into the Kali Yuga before they attacked the mother. But her sisters wasn't buying that. All 7 of those Pleiadian lights, as they call them, the 7 sisters, tore their ass up. But it still wasn't enough. The quarantine had to take place. So your goddesses, you got goddesses, and some people revere them as being the most beautiful and righteous and holy, and then some people paint them as these wicked terrorist creatures with real grotesque features. All they telling you is that the ones who reverence them go back to before the invasion, and the ones that draw them as being hideous creatures are the ones who was getting their ass kicked. So now you know who's getting their ass kicked. The ones who believe that they are these hideous creatures that crawl from the nether worlds for no purpose whatsoever to attack humans, them the idiots. Because those forms, like Kali, earliest depiction, she is beautiful and all of this stuff. She was the goddess of beauty and love, and then all of a sudden now she's this grotesque creature. That's because when you go in there messing with the cub, you're going to arouse the anger of the mother. You can't help that. That's nature. That's the law of nature. So they're going to go in there and try to take all of the priestesses out of the temple and do what they want to do with them, like she's just supposed to be good with that. And so she wasn't good with it. She commenced to kicking their ass. So if you look for the wars, you got, they label it different. The War of the Gods and the Titans in one mythology, which is not really the gods and titans, what you call it the gods. It's one of the tribes of Israel, Gad, which means a troop, which was a military contingent sent from the sky. And then you have your host of heaven, which is another military contingent sent from somewhere else in the sky. And the story is told in the religious texts of the world. Like Arjuna is breaking the war down to Krishna. I mean, Krishna is explaining the war to Arjuna so he can understand why is his siblings on either side of the war. Because it's in the blood for us to be a conflict like that on either side of the war. And so when you have those past life memories, sometimes you have actual memories of not having no propulsion devices, but you flying through the air in ancient times looking like you made out of silver and you kicking ass. Well, that's when you was a whole light being in the midst of the war before they trapped us down here with the quarantine. Now, if you look up 25,000-year-old dark night satellite, you'll see what's holding the quarantine in place. Then you look up maximum solar minimum, and then you understand why being solar powered for so long, the sun producing the least amount of energy it's going to produce causes this satellite that requires the most amount of the energy it can get from the sun to operate to become weakened, which allows us to see through the veil. So the maximum solar minimum is affecting the dark night satellite, which is holding the Shu-Men resonance in play. All that we have to do now is teach these rights to the women, and then we can restore the Shu-Tefnut resonance. Go look at your Egyptian studies and look at who it is as the sky and the earth. You know, understand Gab and Nut. Understand Shu and Tefnut. You know, they telling you the story about how we got quarantined and trapped, and now I'm telling you we can escape it. We can break the trap. Everybody's scared to break the trap because that level of power has been forgotten about within the individual. But if we break the trap and these people fragmented, they light gonna go everywhere, and then they're gonna have a problem because they're gonna dissipate. But some of them need to. Some of them don't need to be breathing no air down here right now because they taking up precious oxygen molecules that somebody that's worth a damn could be using. They in the way. But your past life memories in your current life are there to draw your attention to a greater reality that if you was here before, you'd be here again. Fear not death. Death is a myth. Death don't exist. The death of the physical body, yes. But that's the cycles of life that is held in place by this three-dimensional fixed position reality. It recycles itself, just like your body do. The body designed to last forever, but somebody done something to cause it to break down, but you don't know what they done to you. Then they erase your memory. So how did you get your past life memory past the memory erasure is the $1 million question. So you got to have outside assistance to do that. You can't do it on your own because the way that the trap's set up, the biology cannot sustain the energy of the spirit if it doesn't go through a process of refinement and conditioning. And this is what they call your ascension or your awakening. It's the process of building your neurons to take up all of this higher spiritual energy while you in physical form. And it's hard. And it do stuff to you mentally and physically. And if you ain't working and diligently and you ain't strong enough, you won't make it through it. You have to start all over in another life. You won't make it through it because it's a hard road. And everybody want to try to find like the shortcut. What's the easy way? Ain't no easy way. It's going to be hard no matter how you cut it. I'm looking to see what the comments is in case I got to answer some questions.